Hello and welcome along to WD18, the Watford fan channel. It is a Friday, which is rare for us doing a live stream. We couldn't do one yesterday, but we wanted to do a preview looking ahead to the Derby game. But there's been so much news in the Watford space that not doing a stream before the weekend wouldn't have felt right. We've got a lot to discuss. Keben could be on his way to Watford. Daniel Jebbison, Yaser Asprilla could be on his way out. We've got Pierre Dwomoh as someone who's been linked with a move here. Wesley Hoedt, what's the latest on him? And then we'll wrap up today with a preview looking ahead to Derby at home. Can Watford make it 4 wins on the bounce this season? Sam, how are you, my friend? It's lovely to see you. We must say as well, as always, this is in partnership with Hertfordshire Minds. Sam, what's the latest? You're not hungover today, are you?
No, don't worry. It is a Friday. So yeah, there wasn't I didn't actually hang around for the work drinks yesterday. I was too overwhelmed with the amount of Watford news that I had to go and have a lie down, to be honest with you. I'm all good. And it's actually really refreshing that I felt like this week has gone really slowly just because I've been counting down the days to watch Tom Cleverley's Hornets again. And normally I'd be dreading it. Almost hoping the week didn't end so I didn't have to watch Watford. But we're back tomorrow, and I can't wait for it.
We're back. Do you know what, Sam? You said about the post-work drinks. I don't know if I've ever mentioned it on the channel, but I've got like my top 5 beers. Not the actual brand of it, but like the location. And post-work, I had after-work football yesterday, and a post-football pint, which slowly leads to 2, which slowly leads to 3. And yesterday ended up at Box Park with 4. Legendary. So, yeah, it was a lovely evening after a bit of power league. Charlie, how did you spend your Thursday night, your Friday morning?
Thursday night watching clips about Pierre, and no, I'm best man at a wedding next Sunday, and I've been trying to plan and prepare the speech, but most of my time has been taken up researching incoming Watford players. So I think all he's going to get is some stories about Kevin Ben's recovery runs.
Love it. And we'll touch on Keben in just a moment. I guess just a bit of housekeeping before we get into the video today. Charlie's been smashing out the content here on WD18. So we've got a video about Keben with Toulouse fan site and fan channel. Clement, great guy who came onto the channel. And then Charlie, for Daniel Jebbison, we got a special guest on. Who was it?
Yeah, so we spoke to Dino Mamria, who was the Burton head coach last season. He's also been the head coach at Stevenage. People might recognise him. He played against us. He told a story about when he was at Burnley, playing against Watford and our away fans, being great. And yeah, he worked with Jebbison when he was on loan at Burton 21-22, I think. He had a really good loan spell there. And he also spoke about signing Quadro Bar, who he had last season, and his face lit up when I mentioned him. So make sure you check out that video.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, this is in partnership with Hertfordshire Minds. As always, we're doing our initiative for every goal Watford score. This season, we're going to be donating £1 Hearts Mine. And I know I've said it so many times, but it is a great cause. The link is in the description below. We also wanted to give a huge shout out to Richard Stevens and Goddo de Bastista, who are doing a Walk for Autism Stadium tour starting this weekend. And Luther Blissett will be joining the 2 charity walkers on a 12-stadium tour of London this weekend, aiming to raise awareness and acceptance of autism. So the link is in the description below if you'd like to donate. They've smashed their target. It's going to be a big weekend. A lot of steps, I can imagine, are going to be through the roof. The steps are going to be off the charts. But Saturday, they're going to be heading off from Vicarage Road at 6 a.m. They're going to go to Bournemouth, Spurs, Arsenal, Leyton Orient, West Ham before finishing the day at Shoreditch High Street Station. Sunday, we'll see them leave Shoreditch and head to Chelsea, Fulham, Queen's Park Rangers, Brentford, Wembley and Barnet before making their way back to the Theatre of Dreams, Watford Football Club, Vicarage Road to end off the walk. So if you'd like to donate, the link is in the description below. An amazing cause. And yeah, all the details are below as well. And obviously, if you do go on to enjoy the video and the podcast, please do leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Sam, let's kick it off with a bit of transfer news. And we're going to start with Yaser Asprilla because it's the one that's been rumbling on throughout the window. He's been linked with a move to loads of places, whether it's Rennes, whether it's Leicester. It looks like he's going to be off to Girona and playing Champions League football next season. So, Sam, just your initial thoughts on this one and whether you think it's a good move for Watford and whether it's a good move for Asprilla.
Yeah, I think it's a move that probably suits everyone all round at this point. It doesn't hurt as much as like other ones because I feel like it's been dragging on for so long now that subconsciously I've almost Yaser Asprilla has been out of my mind now, or out of my mind as a Watford player for a few months. So it's almost just been a matter of when rather than if. So I'm pretty neutral in terms of my feelings towards it. But I think for Watford, we'll be getting a good fee for him. And for Yaser Asprilla, I think it's a fantastic move. Champions League football, an upcoming football club who seems to be improving year on year. I think this is going to be their debut in the Champions League, actually. But I think on a wider sense, Girona are also part of the City football group, meaning if Asprilla does perform there over the next couple of years, I wouldn't write off Yaser Asprilla eventually moving back to England to Manchester City. So potentially it's one to watch there. I know it's really, really early, but we've seen it firsthand with Watford and Udinese, these multi-club ownerships. They do like to share their players around. So yeah, probably a few years to go till that, if that one happens. But I think it's a good move for Yaser.
Yeah, it was confirmed by Fabrizio Romano that Girona have agreed a deal to sign Asprilla from Watford. We got the here we go, not there we land. But Girona won the competition over several clubs to sign Asprilla. He's travelled with his agent. He's in Spain. He's sorting his medical out, and it just seems like a matter of time before that gets officially confirmed by both clubs, Girona and Watford. Charlie, anything to add from what Sam said on this move? And I guess the question is, how will you remember Asprilla during his time at Watford?
I remember him. I think he was our best player last season by a mile, wasn't he? Scored some really good goals. Lovely player to watch. I always think of that Norwich goal where he kind of rolls it under his foot past the goalkeeper. I think to do that at such a high speed, but yeah, lovely player. Bit of a shame we didn't get to see him in a better Watford team. The thought of having him in our team this season was exciting, but it looked like he wanted to go, and I think we've got good money from him. It made me laugh seeing like Fabrizio posting the picture of him and his agent. I was thinking, which agent was that? And I'm just hoping that in the boardroom meeting, as he's about to sign, his other agent comes through like Shane O'Mac and interrupts the contract signing. Yeah, like guys see him go, but I think we were all thinking about it. But my question to you, Jacob, is: are we going to replace him?
Wow, that is a good question. I don't think so. I don't think so in this market, this summer transfer window. I think, judging by what Tom Cleverley said in his press conference leading up to the Derby game, Charlie, you think the centre-back, he feels there's another position that they could add in with Keben coming in, but also I got the impression he feels like if Hoedt goes, that really does depend on another person coming in.
He really doesn't rate Tikvich, does he?
I don't think he was a fan. I mean, it is early days, but I think Morris starting over him said everything you need to know. And I think he some nice comments from Cleverley on Morris in terms of his passing range, his calmness on the ball, and yeah, how well he did at the weekend. Obviously, we'll have tougher tests, but a great start for him in a back three. He did say that he's not going to be a centre back in a back two. But going back to what you asked, Charlie, I don't think so. I think it's going to be a striker, and I think that's Jebbison. I think it's going to be a central midfielder. I think that's Dwomoh. And I think maybe one more centre-back could come in after Keben. But in terms of a like-for-like for Asprilla, I don't think so. Sam, would you agree?
I completely agree. I think back to when, I think it was in January, where it seemed we spent our whole January transfer budget on Georgie Shaffatazzi, which I think at the time there were at least definitely some fans who were really, really frustrated by it, because if we're being as good as Georgie is now, I don't think at the time in the first half of the season, I can understand why fans were frustrated that we'd bought him permanently and not strengthened other areas in the team. But I think in hindsight, that was probably the Asprilla replacement back then. I think that is almost getting Shaffatazzi on the permanent. We've seen how good he can be. I think he can probably, I'd actually say that Georgie has the potential to be more consistent than Asprilla. I think the way he plays and he gets more involved in games, I think he's a bit more physical than Asprilla as well. So I think he's probably got the potential to be more consistent than Asprilla and potentially hit the ground running a bit more in the Championship. But also, I think a special mention in this situation has to go to Tom Cleverley, because I think he's handled this whole situation brilliantly. The way he's spoken about it, I don't think Asprilla at any point has been almost put in the bomb squad that we've previously seen other managers do in terms of forcing players to train away. I think both Cleverley and Asprilla seem to have been really professional about the whole thing. Cleverley not wanting Asprilla to train because he didn't want it almost to be a distraction for the players that he knew were going to be at the club. So, yeah, I think credit all round. Best of luck to Asprilla. I don't think any Watford fans at all will have any hard feelings towards him. And yeah, hopefully he goes on to smash it.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see the confirmed fee for Asprilla, but the one that was getting rumoured from Saudi was around 25 million, I think. I think the Rennes deal and the Leicester deal was around that as well. So we'll see what the final fee is, and obviously all the best to Yaser in his move, because it's a great opportunity for him. Especially, I think, also to mention, as a Spanish speaker for Asprilla, it makes a lot of sense for him and his family as well. So all the best to him. Champions League football next season for Yaser Asprilla, and I'm sure he'll kick on in La Liga as well. Let's touch on Daniel Jebbison incomings, because we've been talking a lot about outgoings this window, whether it's Yaser Asprilla, whether it's Wesley Hoedt. And Daniel Jebbison is one that I was getting a little bit worried, a little bit shaky, Charlie, because I saw Paul Heckingbottom coming at Preston, and you get, I think it was Graham Bailey and a couple of other sources suggesting that they were trying to hijack a last-minute move to Preston. Obviously, Jebbison had worked under Heckingbottom at Sheffield United, but we got the Leventhal bomber, and he said just yesterday that Watford have agreed a deal in principle with Bournemouth striker Daniel Jebbison on a season-long loan. The 21-year-old striker was impressed with Tom Cleverley's plans for the season and has made his choice after considering various options. Charlie, talk to me. Daniel Jebbison. Yeah, I feel like you must have watched a lot of him, right?
Yeah, I'm buzzing, to be honest. Really happy. There was a lot of talk about Ali El Mohammadi, who I think would have been great as well from Ipswich. I think he's a proper goal scorer. But I do think Jebbison kind of suits what we need in terms of that physicality, the pacing behind. I think we're going to be a kind of transition team this season, and he is quick. He can hold it up. Really good link-up play. I don't think his best kind of attributes might be kind of aerially or bringing it down, but having that physical presence that we can get it up to. And the issue is with him is just the game times that he's had. You look at his stats and see he's barely scored any goals, but that's because he's barely played. That's why it was great to get insight on Dino and what he thought. And the thing that kind of stood out to me was he thought he'd be playing in the Premier League regularly by now. That's what he said a couple of years ago. I've always had an eye on him because he's been playing for the England youth teams. He won the under-19s Euros with England. And then when I did a bit more digging, like when you hear him speak, he's got a strong Canadian accent. So the fact that he's backing himself, he wants to play for England over Canada. I'm hoping we're going to get a lot of Ishmael Kone Canada fans into our mentions in those flags, because I think they all want him to play for Canada. And obviously that's not ruled out. But yeah, I really like the profile. I think he's a really good character. It's good to see that he's been in our mentions, liking a few tweets. Yeah, when I saw a couple of those messages about Paul Heckingbottom and Preston, I thought I wouldn't rule anything out of football. Let's just say that. But I think, especially with Leventhal reporting it, I like to think it's a done deal. And if it's not, I'm going to be crying. But no, I'm really excited. Hopefully we can get that sorted by next week. He's potentially going to be in the squad for Bournemouth this weekend, and then the Carabao Cup game on Wednesday. So we're going to have to wait. We're going to have to wait for him. But hopefully by the end of next week, we're going to see him holding a yellow shirt.
Yeah, absolutely. Fingers crossed. Sam, I guess I wanted to ask you about Jebbison, but more away from it, because I feel like Charlie summed up his attributes really, really well there. And as he said, you can check out the video with Dino on the channel as well, who worked closely with him in his days at Burton. But Sam, I wanted to just ask you, what does this striker need to have in this Tom Cleverley system? You've looked at Bayo, you looked at Rajovic, we've looked at Barr very briefly as well. What are the attributes the striker needs to have in the Cleverley system?
Yeah, just touching on something Charlie just said just now. I mean, I'm only almost going to fully believe it when, I mean, it's quite clear that there is concrete interest there and it is nearly done. But, you know, he is set to be in the Bournemouth squad tomorrow night for their game on Sunday for their game, which is on Sky. I imagine he'll play for them in the Carabao Cup as well. And it'll just be so Watford if he got injured or something like that. We had to pull out of the deal. But I think it's
don't jinx it, Sam, please.
I'm hoping not, because I think it's a really exciting signing. I think the fact that Bournemouth actually went in for him. Bournemouth are a club at the moment under Andoni Iraola, as much as there is sort of, I'd say it's more of a jokey rivalry between Watford and Bournemouth rather than anything too serious. But the fact that he bought into Iraola's plan and Iraola wanted Jebbison, I think speaks volumes that a exciting Premier League club, a progressive Premier League club wanted him, and we've managed to land him is really positive. But in terms of what a Tom Cleverley striker needs to have, I think firstly, it's almost like we really need that finisher in the box. We know we're going to get chances in and around that area with the creative, with the creativity of Chakfatadze, Keben, and the fullbacks as well. And it's just a case of having someone on the end of those chances. Bayo, I think that we spoke about it in the last video. I think there's a clear trust issue with Bayo. He's making some really good and positive runs, particularly in that Millwall game, but it just seems that the players don't trust him to pass him the ball. And hopefully Jebbison can continue making those similar runs that Bayo was doing. And that firstly will either open up space for Chakfatadze to run into and take some shots, or open up that space for Keben as well, or he'll be able to create those opportunities for himself. Like Charlie said, I think the slight concern is that lack of almost aerial threat that I think he poses. I think Lewin said something similar as well, that aerially he's not the best. But I think having Jebbison and Mileta in there will almost complement each other nicely. If we need that aerial threat, we've got Rajvic on the bench. And I do wonder now where this leaves Bayo for the future, because it wouldn't shock me now if Bayo did depart in this window.
One thing that I've heard this said a lot about, would it be good if we had half of Bayo and half of Rayo as one player? And I think two of their key attributes from Bayo, his out of possession work's probably one of his strongest. And I think Jebbison's brilliant at that. I remember the Brentford game in pre-season when we played such a high press. And I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of that now. We've got a player who can do that. And then I think when I looked at all of Jebbison's goals, he loves a tap in. He loves being in the right place at the right time. Bit Rajvic, maybe not of his head, but his famous goal was like that as well. So I'm hoping we're going to get someone like, if we can get him 6 or 7 tap ins and a couple of more goals on top of that, it's going to be really, really beneficial for us.
I spoke to a close mate of mine who is a Bournemouth fan, and just obviously as you do when you haven't watched a lot of a player and they've watched a lot of him, he had a few thoughts on it just to give a bit of insight from a Bournemouth point of view. He said he's very raw, but I've watched maybe a combined 50 minutes of him. He's got a great press and work rate, puts himself about a lot, not scared to get involved. So I think if he can get some goals and confidence, he could be class in the Championship. But did mention the point that the lad said that he is a bit injury prone, so he needs to keep fit as well. Let us know your thoughts on Daniel Jebbison in the comment section below. Rio says, my mate who supports Bournemouth said he's had a brilliant pre-season and scored a couple, and he's surprised he isn't being kept as their third choice striker. There was a comment from Anthony, would like to see Rajvic loaned out if Jebbison comes in. He has more potential than Bayo, so getting game time would be wise. I think the only thing I struggle with that, Anthony, is I do feel like Rajvic gives us a different option off the bench. And when we are chasing a game, like at Millwall, when we needed that goal, and we needed someone in the office box just to knock one in, Rajvic is the man who can do it for us. So I'd personally keep him. Lads, would you change the striker situation? Would you send anyone out on loan if he did come in?
Like I said before, I think Bayo could leave this window, to be honest with you. I think he's going to want to have minutes, and I don't think with Jebbison coming in, I don't think he'll get as many, because while Rajvic might not necessarily be better in terms of being a starter, I think he's definitely a better impact off the bench than Bayo will have. So yeah, I think Bayo could leave this window.
Tom says,
I agree, and I also think we've got Doumbia as well, who looked pretty lively when he came on against MK Dons. Hopefully we get to see him against Plymouth next week, is it? I think
by the way, 4 home games.
Yeah, I think if one of them were to go, I agree. Maybe get Bayo a loan move. I'm sure Mr. Moji can help out with that, and Rajvic off the bench with Doumbia as an option as well.
Yeah, Bayo to Charleroi or Udinese is an absolute banker, I think, now for the rest of this window.
He loves
the rest of the season.
He loves a black and white kit. Bayo, Charleroi, Udinese. Tom said he would be happy for Bayo to leave, but we're never going to get back what we got for him. Doumbia is another player to throw in the mix. Does that mean he'll be sent out on loan to get some more game time? So it's a really sort of moving situation with Jebbison at the moment. But
sorry, Jacob. Yeah, I mean Jebbison's debut could be against Sheffield United as well. Obviously, the club where he came through that Jebbison and Yaser Asprilla link up against former Watford manager Chris Wilder. So a lot of mini narratives going on for that game next. It's a week on Sunday, I think. I think we're playing on the Sunday at Bramall Lane.
I just wanted to, before we carry on, before I forget as well, I did listen to Tom Cleverley's press conference this morning, and I would recommend having a listen to it. Well, the one line that stood out to me, lads, I don't know if you caught it, but he basically said he wants Watford to be the favourites going into the Luton game. And the Luton game is October the 19th, 12:30 kickoff. But the fact that he's already got that in his mind, that he's looking at that game going, if we go into that game as favourites, we've had a good start to the season. Just thought it was something to pick up on, because I listen to his press conferences now. I'm a bit of a sucker for a press conference, I'll be honest. But there is like night and day between what he's saying, Clevs, and some of the previous managers we've seen at the club. So one to look out for as well. Okay, let's touch on a couple of other topics. More transfer news. It's coming thick and fast. Kevin Keben, again, another video done by Charlie with Clement is on the channel. I just wanted to give a little bit of insight. So through sort of contacts at work, not saying it's anything big, I spoke to someone who's a Ligue 1 scout. So he watched a lot of Ligue 1 football, and obviously Kevin Keben from Toulouse looks to be making his way to Watford, 20 years old. And I basically asked for some pros and cons of him, because he'd watched a lot of him anyway. He said he's a good player with a big potential, but he's not the finished article just yet, which you'd expect at 20 years old. The pros, he's got a great athletic profile in terms of his physical attributes, in terms of his pace. He's very powerful, dynamic as a defender. He's got good ability on the counter-attack if we're getting braked upon, to make ground back. He can carry, and most importantly, I think for the Tom Cleverley system, he's good on the ball. He's very comfortable on the ball, which is good to hear, and technically has good ability. He did say he has a few concerns about the Championship being a bit too physically demanding for Keben in terms of the duels, which is something that Tom Cleverley again mentioned today in terms of the amount of duels we won in the Millwall game, the amount of duels we won last weekend against Stoke as well. It's something that he was a really big fan of. And I think Arne Slot mentioned it after the Ipswich game, where there's no point talking about tactics if you can't win your duels. And that's something that Cleverley's clearly prioritised this season compared to last season as well. He just said he needs to improve in the tackle, and in terms of aerial duels, he's not the best at this moment in time in the air. So that's kind of a little bit of a summary about Kevin Keben. Charlie, from your chat with Clement, any takeaways from that to give people a little bit of insight?
I think you summed it up there. It was quite aligned in terms of, I think, his biggest asset, and I think Tom Cleverley mentioned it when he was asked about potential signings, was we're bringing pace into the team, whether that's at the back. We needed more mobility in our defence, and Jebbison up front. So, yeah, he played a lot as a right side of a back three for Toulouse as well. So he's played that system. Could we see him as kind of that understudy to Ryan Porteous? And I totally agree. The Championship, I don't see him as a starter, but injuries, he could be called upon. I think it's just an important area that we need to strengthen. But one for the future. He's still only 20 years old, played a lot of Ligue 1 football. He was part of the Toulouse side who beat PSG last season 3-1. So he's played against the big boys like Mbappe. So, yeah, plenty of... and the fact that we got him for only like €1 million, there was reports that he was wanted for like 10 million at one point from like German clubs and stuff like that. So highly regarded. I think it's a classic Pozzo signing. Hopefully they get their return in investment a long time away and we get a good player.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, make sure you do check out that video on Kevin Keben. We'll move on to fly through these because not up against time, but there's a lot to get into. We've done Keben, we've done Daniel Jebbison, we've done Asprilla. Sam, I'll give you the chance to talk about Wesley Hoedt and the latest on him there. Now, this is one that is really swinging each way at the moment with Tom Cleverley, because 1 minute he feels quite confident that he's staying. He then said today that it might have just shifted the other way in terms of him potentially leaving. He didn't say explicitly he's not naive to do that, but he basically said at one point he was very confident he was staying. It now feels it might have shifted slightly the other way, Sam. Al Shabab with the team in Saudi linked. Just trusting your gut, and we don't know anything. We have no inside information. But are you confident come September the 1st that we'll have Wesley Hoedt as a Watford player?
Yeah, it's a really tough one. Because I mean, to be honest with you, I think Clevs has had a fantastic start to the season, and oh, here we go. Ria just said something here.
Just a bit of news coming in actually. Today, Watford fan groups were speaking to Scott Duxbury in a press conference. We didn't do that, but make sure you do go and check out the latest from those guys who did attend the conversation with Duxbury. And one of the things that's come out of that conversation is that Scott Duxbury has announced that Wesley Hoedt has left Watford and Daniel Jebbison has joined the football club. Sam, your reaction to that one?
I feel like the one where Brendan Rodgers got sacked.
If only this was a post-match pint to reenact it.
Honestly, that might be my top 3 moments. We've done this channel for 7 years. That is so up there. So up there.
I was just about to say, I actually think he's going to stay, to be honest with you. God, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm quite happy it's resolved. It sort of rumbled on for the entire summer. I was about to say as well, I think Clevs is smashing it so far at the start of this season. However, I appreciate his honesty in press conferences, but I think he needs to stop letting on so much about certain things in the market. I think something he said the other week was something like, we're close to signing a few players this week or something like that, and nothing actually materialized. And him sort of, I think, swinging with the Wesley Hoedt thing hasn't helped with the mood of the fan base. But yeah, it's no surprise to hear that Wesley Hoedt has gone. Disappointing with the way that it's ended, I think. I think we all expected that Wes would be here for another season and potentially sign a new contract. But if he's not signing that new deal, I think it's going to be our only opportunity to get a return on the investment. Yeah, it sort of did throw me off a bit though, having that breaking news now.
Breaking from Rio, breaking from the voice of the Vics. Charlie, your thoughts on Hoedt leaving and we touched on Jebbison joining. We're really happy about that one, but Wesley Hoedt leaving the club. We don't know where yet.
Yeah, I don't think that's good news for us. We're going to need a replacement. I'm just looking at kind of the squad depth that we've got. I'll share it in a bit. But who we got now at the back? Porteous, Pollock, and Siralta. Obviously, Keben coming in, Titvic, Kai. But we're going to need to replace Wesley Hoedt. And I think that leadership, we spoke in a previous video saying, I think I said I'd rather just run down his contract than let him go and not have a replacement, because I think what he brings in terms of, one, his ability, like his ball playing ability. There's a reason he won Player of the Season. That means we're now losing our player and young player of the season from last year, which is big. And his leadership's huge, and that balance as a left-sided centre back. So, but I think the Watford recruitment team need to do some work now to find an experienced left-footed centre back. I think that's a big blow, and I'm gutted, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm gutted. Having said that, it did produce this moment live on WD18, which for me is. So yeah, Wesley Hoedt's gone. Sam's JD Carragher. Everyone's leaving. A few comments actually. Let us know your thoughts on this. I mean, one of the very, very rare times that something's been confirmed as we're going live, or as we are live. Max said Hoedt leaving would mean that Cleverley could pick a centre-back that he wants and he thinks is the suited most to the system. I don't know. I know Cleverley is involved with recruitment, but I don't know if he has the final say. I'd imagine that is Duxbury and with Gino. Urban Pulse makes the point that James Morris is good in a back three, so does give us an option. Rio says, surely we have to bring in another centre-back. Anthony says, in terms of pure economics, it makes more sense to sell Hoedt and properly develop Pollock, Morris, Kai, who's a player that we haven't mentioned, and increase their sell-on value as well. Dara says, I won't believe he is leaving till he comes on for another team. There have been so many rumours of him leaving, but no end result. I guess the fact Scott Duxbury is confirming that means he is out the building, and Ulster sums it up very well. There is never a dull day at Watford Football Club. Okay, Wesley Hoedt is off. Jebbison is coming in. I was literally just thinking,
can you imagine now if Jebbison doesn't happen and Mr. Duxbury said that?
I mean, look, we don't want to bring it up again, but whether it will become hell or high water, we'll have to wait and see. Pierre Dwomoh, Charlie.
Pierre Dwomoh.
Talk to me.
Yeah.
Have you watched with him recently?
Yeah, I spent some time last night watching it, watching his clips.
Actually,
yeah,
Charlie, before you jump in there, just to give a bit, just for people who don't know, Watford are in talks, advanced talks to sign Pierre Dwomoh from Royal Antwerp. The 20-year-old central midfielder is undergoing a medical, with the two clubs finalising a deal worth around €1 million to 850, which is £850,000. Charlie,
I thought you were delivering some more breaking news there. Now this one really surprised me. Like when another little cheeky Leventhal Bumba, but yeah, really exciting. Really similar to even like everyone's compared him to Kone, which I agree with, that box-to-box midfielder. I think physically for his age, there's a lot to work with there. Really, really big boy, strong, only 20. He can get kind of like he's running. He's a powerful runner. He's just very raw. I don't think he's going to be coming into the starting 11. Like when you watch some of his shots and his long range passing and stuff like that, it is raw. But he played for a team in the Belgium top tier last season on loan, Molenbeek. They did get relegated, but he got 30 games in top tier football, which I think will do him all the goods. And I heard some other clubs were interested. In particular, a little club down the road were also sniffing about. So, really excited signing a good squad player. And do you know who actually reminded me of? We're speaking about him, but physically, kind of how languid he is. He's got a bit of the Etienne Capoue about him. So maybe a bit more kind of dynamic, running back and forward than Capoue. But yeah, excited to see what he can do. I think he's a good bit of business getting him so cheap. Someone that we can develop and he can turn into a top player for us. So I am actually potentially doing a video about him tomorrow morning. So I'll try and get that turned around and posted when you're on the way to the game. Speaking to someone from the team who was on loan and saw a lot of him last season. So excited about that one.
This is what he does. Charlie Wyscout's on it as usual. I have to say, Sam, the biggest positive about me, I'm not going to sit here and pretend I've watched a lot of Keben. I've seen bits of Jebbison naturally because he's playing the Premier League and in the Championship. Dwomoh I haven't watched a lot of, but when you break it down and you have Keben, a 20-year-old centre-back, you have Jebbison, a 20-year-old striker, and a 21-year-old striker, and then you have Dwomoh, a 20-year-old central midfielder. Whatever you would say about whether it's the right or wrong signing, for me, it's absolutely the right move, that the profile of these signings by Watford, because they're the type of players that I think is best for Tom Cleverley as a young coach, someone who's up and coming. And would you say that that's something that's excited you, seeing the sort of players we are looking to get in? Because there has been a bit of negativity around the fact that we do sometimes don't get the right type of signings, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's nice to see us going for sort of similar profiles of players as well. Obviously, you do need to have that experience in the squad. Moussa Sissoko coming in this transfer window, Jonathan Bodenow, who's got quite a bit of experience. We're also linked with Liam Cooper, or at least that was a couple of weeks ago, and it wouldn't shock me now that with Hoedt gone, if that's going to come through still. So yeah, it is refreshing to see, and it's always nice to have, I think, younger players at the football club who are able to develop and almost go on that journey with them. Because as well as our starts of the season so far under Tom Cleverley, which I think it arguably could have pushed that move for Jebbison through, saying that, look, this is what we've produced so far. But we've got a long list of players who we've now developed and then moved on. Asprilla obviously being the latest one, João Pedro, Richarlison, Decore. So yeah, it's always nice to have those young players that we can develop.
Charlie, should we take a little look at the squad depth chart and how this Watford squad's shaping up after sort of recent movements?
Yeah, sorry, I've just been updating it as we're talking, so there might be it might not be 100% correct, but can you guys see that? Okay.
Yeah, could you zoom in slightly?
Why are we cutting it off?
There we go. We got. This is the sort of level of insight we're getting here. We've got a breakdown. This is on Clevs' wall, by the way, as well, probably. On his whiteboards.
Screenshots the videos with us three on the side of it and sticks it on the wall.
Well, Charlie's just
let me get a better shot of this. 2 secs.
Yeah, while Charlie's doing that, there's a couple of comments. So Anthony says, crucially, another French speaker with Dwomoh, creating a real nucleus with Sissoko and Kayelme at the helm, help develop Dumbia, Dwomoh, etc. in their native language. I think that's a really, really good point from Anthony in terms of this team as well. You then throw Keben into the mix as well, who can speak French. So I think that's definitely something to mention. I don't know what's going to be happening with Imran Loser. We haven't mentioned him on this show, but he's been in talks with Mallorca. Is it, Sam?
Yeah, I think it is Mallorca. Yeah, it does seem that Imran Loser could be leaving the football club this transfer window.
We just had a tip, Charlie. Apparently, F11 is the way to go full screen. But there we go. We've got the squad depth charts. Charlie, just run us through it for us.
Like I said, I was kind of doing this as we went through, so this could be incorrect in some places. But I've kind of added what I think who we're bringing in terms of Jebbison, Dwomoh, and Keben. I feel like we're quite lopsided. We've got a lot of lefties there. I'll put James Morris as a left centre back instead of a left wing back. How do I feel about it? Yeah, I just think now we've got a week until the end of the window. We need like Porto, Sierralta, and Pollock. Is that our strongest back three? That doesn't fill me with too much confidence, if I'm honest. I'd like to see us bring now a starting centre half. Someone with championship experience would be ideal. And then apart from that, it depends about Imran Loser. I think if he went, we would be a bit light in the centre midfield position. And we said we're kind of pretty stacked in the kind of number 10s and now strikers positions. Whether we're stacked on quality or not is a different story. But I know you mentioned about didn't want a Yaser replacement. I wouldn't mind a cheeky loan signing to I don't know, an Ethan Nouari or someone, just as a bit of X factor to light up the squad. But I wouldn't be surprised as well if you look at some of those names, even Shaq Ford, even Barr, who I mentioned. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw those guys maybe having another loan in the next week.
One player that did stand out there, Samuel Kalu. Where is he? Because that's the first time I've seen him. I have no idea where he's gone. Yeah, interesting one on Loser as well. I mean, it looks like Mallorca. I guess I think centre mid is a really good point, Charlie, actually, because it's probably a bit too much heavy lifting if Loser goes for Ramirez of Spain to play. I think he's a great talent, but it's a lot of a 17-year-old to come in and play a lot of first-team football. We'll see what team, though, he goes with tomorrow, Sam. I wanted to wrap up today. We're doing our sort of starting 11 prediction, or the team. Let's do the team we would go with for tomorrow against Derby. Watford are 3 wins on the bounce. We obviously had the opening day win at Millwall, then MK Dons in the Cup, and Stoke last weekend. And Watford are looking to make it 4 wins on the bounce, really giving Gracia vibes in 2018-19 when we did the exact same thing. Different divisions, of course. But Sam, let's run through your team. How about you do the goalkeeper back 3, and then Charlie will do the 4 across, and then I'll do the 3.
Yeah, I think I'd go unchanged, to be honest with you. Not unchanged, sorry. If Porteous is feeling better, which I think Tom Cleverley mentioned that he is, I'd go with Batman in goal, Porteous, Sierralta, and Matty Pollock as the defensive line.
Charlie?
I was going to try and quickly whip up a lineup, but it might be too much of a big ask. What were you asking for? Who's going to play midfield?
Let's go 2 wing backs first off, because Ngakia started on the left-hand side. I think Andrews is a shoe-in at right wing back. We can all agree there. Do you go, and Ngakia's got a slight knock, but he's a bit of a doubt for the weekend. Is it just natural that Larousse is it's time for his first start?
It's got to be, especially after that second half performance when he came on. He was excellent and probably the catalyst for us kicking on. I think Andrews has had a really promising start as well to the season. So I'm happy with those guys as our fullbacks. And then I think Tom Delly and Musa have had a really solid start to the season. Again, looking at that squad depth, those two are not the most. We know Tom Delly's had his injury issues and Sissoko's not getting any younger. So that centre midfield area is now looking a bit thin. But yeah, I'd have those two as wing back, those two as centre midfielder. I don't know. Sam can wrap up with the attacking unit.
Yeah, so this is the 3 that started last time, Sam. We had Chak Vedetsi on the left, who is absolutely starting. I think we can all agree on that one. Edu Kiyembe in the right forward slot, which I think we said on the last stream, first half wasn't really in the game. Second half, we all know the score. And then Bayo leading the line. Now, with Jebbison obviously coming in, as Scott Duxbury confirmed today, it means that it's not in time, I doubt, for him to be involved tomorrow. Definitely not starting anyway. But Sam, would you start with Bayo? Would you start with Rajovic? Would you start with Barr? Would you start with Doumbia?
Yeah, I'd probably. It's so tough, isn't it? I'd actually go Rajovic because I think we looked more balanced going forward when he came on. I think we touched on it in the review of the Stoke game, but I thought it freed up, particularly Keben was so much more free when Rajovic came on in that second half. I do wonder if there is that experiment that could be had where we stick Keben up top and play almost Vata in behind as well, and have a front three of Vata, Shaftatsi and Keben through the middle, almost in that deeper role. But I doubt we'd see that tomorrow, to be honest with you.
Would be punchy. Lads, anything we know Derby-wise? I mean, it's they've just obviously been promoted from League One there. The opening day defeat at Blackburn, where they did look pretty open. One thing I wanted to mention my end was their record last season from set pieces, particularly, was very, very good. I think it was one of the best in the Championship. So that's something to definitely look out for. We need the Steve Terry, Matty Pollock to get his head on it and make sure we're good in both boxes. But anything, lads, we want to mention about Derby?
Yeah, I mean, they've got a bizarre relationship with Paul Warren because despite promotion, they all seem to absolutely hate him. So, yeah, their style of football, I think it's a bit pragmatic, and I think it might be a game tomorrow where I think Watford are going to have to be a bit patient and almost wait till the second half for those chances to open up.
Go on, Charlie.
Is that the starting 11? Do we reckon?
I think Sam would go Rajovic, but I think Porteous is probably I think Porteous will be the only change.
And Larouci, surely, for Ngakia.
Sorry, and Larouci. Yeah, Larouci and Porteous, 2 changes. I think.
And we think Bayo to start.
I think Bayo will start. I'd actually agree. I agree with Sam. I think Rajovic is the play to go up front. Whether maybe Bayo's better for the shape. Probably Tom Cleverley's thinking out of possession, Charlie. Yeah,
I agree. Like we know, but I think Bayo was a lot better against Stoke, and even he played a part in our goal, holding it up from kind of one of Pollock's headers. So I think he'll go with this as well, which I'm happy with. We've had some good performance so far this season, so Derby's a big opportunity. We can't take them lightly. They're going to be physical. They're going to be direct. Our 3 centre-backs are going to have to really put in a shift and be on it, which they've done it against Millwall, so they should be able to do it at home against Derby. And then our magic players in terms of Shaftatsi and Kayembe and our wide players to produce. And if you would have said we would have won our first 4 games of the season when we were doing all of our preview content, no one would have believed you. So I think it'd be absolutely massive if we got the win on Sunday. Maybe Tom Cleverley could win a Manager of the Month after that. Who knows?
Please
Someone might have predicted it.
Please not the curse.
What is it with jinxing it today? Sam's jinxing it at one point, Charlie's jinxing it at another. I mean, one player I wanted to mention though, Philip. I agree with Philip here. I wouldn't drop Morris. He's done nothing wrong on the left. Keep Pollock on the right. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Porteous came back in. But if it was me, Sam, I'd carry on with Morris at left back. I thought he gave us good balance. Left centre back, sorry, gave us good balance down that left hand side, and I think his passing and his calmness. I think. Is there any reason to change that?
What about the physical? The physical challenge is going to be a lot different, and like we saw with Millwall standing up, Serralta, Porteous, and Pollock were outstanding. Sorry, Sam.
Yeah, no, I think Derby are going to be more direct, and I think as well, particularly if. I'm assuming Watford are going to have a lot more of the ball, at least throughout the Derby game. And I think Porteous is probably slightly better on the ball than James Morris as well. So, yeah, Morris has done, nothing. In terms of bringing the ball forward, I think Porteous, is slightly better. But, yeah, Morris has done nothing wrong, and I've got no issue with him being a depth player this season, but I'd bring Porteous back in.
Sam's got to shoot, so it's 2 minutes. Sam, you got 2 minutes?
Got 2 minutes.
Okay. 2 minutes for just a couple of thoughts because loads of people are going to be coming in on this Friday lunchtime as well. Really do appreciate it. And if you'd like to see more of these in the day, we're more than happy to deliver them. And we'll be back Sunday night, lads, talking Derby, Watford at Vicarage Road. Thomas says, to be honest, I don't really like Morris in left centre back. He's too weak and feel like he hasn't come across anyone good. That's a fair point. Odgster says that man of the match curse is debunked. Don't think you need more a manager of the month. Sorry, don't think you need Morris there if you have a left-footed wing back. I get why you'd want Morris there if Ngaki was at left back. I think it's a great point from Matt. Anthony says, genuine question: could you guys see Keben as a striker option if he keeps scoring? Sam?
Yeah, no, I said before it wouldn't. I said particularly if Asprilla had stayed because we'd have to find a way of fitting them all in. I could have seen it being Keben up front with Asprilla and Chafatazzi behind them, but I don't think it will happen now. Particularly with Jebbison coming in.
Yeah. Okay. One more. There was Philip says no way we would have got over 5 million for Hoedt. Probably less. Surely Adeyemo needs to go out. That's another one. Alex says Yuko hot take Kalu Championship top goal scorer.
Keep your eyes on that one.
And then there was just lastly, Take M said, did WD18 get an invite to the Scott Duxbury press conference? Lads, who wants to take that one? I can take it.
Take it, Jacob.
We did. Yeah. Sam, you work in PR. I think it's your time. We did get an invite, but it wasn't probably the vibe for us. So we kind of swerved it. But yeah, huge shout out to the guys who went and got the exclusive news that Wesley Hoedt is on his way out of the football club. Confirmed. And Daniel Jebbison, though, Charlie, turn that frown upside down, is on his way to WD.
There we land.
Thanks so much to everybody who watched today. Really do appreciate it. Score predictions. I'm actually going to go 3-1 Watford.
That was quick. Wow. I mean, sort of... it's weird because before the season on paper you'd have said the one that Watford are most likely to win would be the Derby game, so sort of that internal pessimist within me that comes with being a Watford fan says that we might struggle, but I think it's going to be a really scrappy 1-0 win for Watford. A really bad game of football to watch, but I think we'll edge it.
I think we'll grind it out after a Derby set piece and we'll win 3-1. Charlie?
I think we're going to huff and puff, not be able to break them down. We'll lose on the counter-attack. So I'm just deflecting my man of the match jinx. So no one can call me out if it's a bad result.
Man of the match or manager of the month?
Manager of the month, so.
That's the one. Thanks so much, guys, for watching today. Hope you did enjoy it. And just a reminder, we are in partnership with Hearts Your Mind. Link is in the description below to all the details there. And a huge shout out to the guys who are doing the autism walk starting at 6 a.m. tomorrow from Vicarage Road. So make sure you do drop them a donation if you can as well. Leave a like on the way out. Subscribe to WD18. Follow Sam, Charlie, and myself on our social channels and WD18 at WD18 fans. And we will see you next time. Take care, guys, and have a great one tomorrow. You odds.